And we have 2 months after the September completion deadline flop. The Nigerian International Petroleum Commission has explained why it could not deliver the much-awaited Port Harcourt Refinery Company. In an interview on Monday, the Nnpc Chief Corporate Communications Officer Olufemi Soneye said the company encountered risks and challenges while carrying out the rehabilitation, being a brownfield project. He noted that the Nnpc began the commissioning of critical equipment and processing units after the mechanical completion in Nigeria. You may recall that mechanical completion of the Phrc revamp was successfully achieved several months ago, marking a significant milestone in the project. However, common with brownfield projects of this scale and complexity, we encountered unforeseen risks and challenges. Nonetheless, the issues were resolved and commissioning activities have resumed, he said. Soneye stressed that issues have since been effectively resolved and commissioning activities have resumed. It was observed that Nnpc desisted from giving new deadlines for the delivery of the refinery, having failed to meet its deadline 7 times. Nigerians have been hopeful that the cost of fuel could crash if the country refines its crude and ends the import of refined products. In March 2021, the Nigerian government acquired a $1.5 billion loan for the renovation and modernization of the refinery, but the contractor handling the project has yet to announce its completion. Quickly, Chief, I would love to get your thoughts about this issue about the refinery in Port Harcourt.
I think those, excuse me, I think those gentlemen at the Nnpc deserve to be tied to a stake, either shot or flogged, because they've taken us a grand ride over time. I don't know whether they think that technology isn't available, whether they think that those of us who are watching them are not knowledgeable. Now, how do you tell us every time that on so date we have the refinery commission, and when the time comes, you hear nothing? They will tell you about sabotage, they will tell you. So what were they doing? What were they thinking? Now, for me, although there's this illusion, in my view, that the commissioning of the refineries owned by the federal government will bring down fuel costs, maybe marginally. But a lot of people forget that there's an international benchmark in terms of international prices for how much a liter of fuel costs internationally, you know, and there's no way. It's not as if you produce something else, except we are still talking about subsidy through the back door. If not, we've passed, if you say market forces, market forces. My own thinking is Nnpc should not stop giving us stories. If the federal government knows what is right, let them privatize the refineries.
Okay.
That is the only way we can get some bargain out of those refineries.
Okay.
If not, you remain a conduit pipe. You just keep collecting money, and then they do nothing. It's like at Ukuta, nothing. There's nothing you can do about it.
Okay, thank you very much on your thoughts about that. Oh, quickly, Chuba, I would love to get your thoughts. What do you think about the situation with the Port Harcourt refinery?
I think, for me, I think this report kind of encapsulates the Nigerian state today. Whether we like it or yes, like the chief clearly alluded, it's a conduit pipe, whether we accept it or not. One thing that is very, very annoying is the use of words. You're calling it a brownfield project. Are there no other brownfield projects outside this nation carried out by people who went to the same universities? Because when you look at the board of people or people that are saddled the responsibility of making this thing work, there are people who will come out to tell you they are graduate of Harvard, they are graduate of here and there, masters and all of that saddled to their names. At the end of it, the same people that went to the same school with you outside the shores of Nigeria are doing great things with their own country's construction or whatever innovations that you claim to have studied as well. But in Nigeria, it is a systematic arrangement of a cabal structure to just keep siphoning the common patrimony of this nation. Now, ask yourself one very all-important question. What gives the Nnpc the temerity to tell the Nigerian government and even stakeholders that there is no possibility of telling us a deadline for the, the date of completion? Is it that it's a spiritual assignment now being done as against scientific technologies being practiced? That is one. Secondly, I have made this statement again and again, and that is why people feel funny when I say this. I want to make this very all-bold statement. We have people who pride themselves, carry themselves in funny manners from the southern part of Nigeria as though they are demigods, acting all funny, all cocky, as if they have everything in lock and keys. Whereas, out of sheer ingenuity, our locals have been able to refine these products again and again over the years, right under our noses in this country. Then with all the equipment and structure in Nnpc, till date, we cannot refine products. It is still a spiritual thing for us to get it done. More so, because of the insincerity of all the governments that we have had before now, you find out that we have a government who comes out to tell us that one reason or the other. If Nnpc was a private liability, was a private company owned by some persons, what temerity or on what grounds would the likes of Melakari, who has been there for decades, be doing there up until now? If any private business is delivering in this capacity, would that private business still keep all those places in its board? So that would like it or yes. Like the chief clearly stated, if they are not asked, if Nnpc is not sold out, no, and any government comes in to continue on this pathway without telling us this is what we want to do, the seventh time you are giving us data and it's not functioning, and you don't want to sell it out, and yet people are not being sacked, come on, it is just a charade and a conduit pipe where the stakeholders in this country are siphoning our common matrimony.
Thank you very much on that, Chuba. Barrister Silverbill, I don't know, what do you think the Nnpcl has been doing wrong so far?
First and foremost, I want to say that it shows great signs of insensitivity to the plight of the Nigerian people that we have 3 government refineries in the country and none is working. I think only recently a private refinery has been allowed in and is not also given free hands to do what he should do, to be able to ensure that petroleum products are delivered to the people at a rate that is considerably okay. Now, for me, it is a painful reality. It is pathetic indeed that a set of intellectuals who have been put together to man a particular company, a particular situation, bring back our refineries, will come and talk to people who are equally reasonable, some more reasonable than them, some wiser than them. And they will come and tell us today, oh, come on, tomorrow, we are going to have these refineries on board. The 3 of them are going to work. In fact, as at August 2019, if I'm not mistaken, we have the Port Harcourt refineries work. Kerry said that. By December, I can assure you, he spoke to the Senate. By December, I can assure you that every one of them will work perfectly. And the date came and nothing happened. The year passed and nothing happened. They kept promising up to the 7th time. And this time I'm happy our brother, the learned Sikh Falana, has said, come, give us the date when this thing will work, when this thing will function. And they are shying away from it. They are running away completely. In fact, they have been able to bring in some technicalities, pushing it to say, oh, let their legal counsel answer. We are a private firm. We are not affected by these provisions of the Freedom of Information Act. And for that reason, you cannot call us to account to say we must give you this information. We are not banned in this regard. Even though we agree with them in a way based on the law, but come to look at it. Let's look at what is moral. Let's look at what is legal. Let's look at what we appeal to the conscience of the people. Let's look at what we make us to believe in you, that you are actually representing the people. No human being can be taken seriously if he says a thing once and he fails, he says it the second time and he fails. And then you move on again to say it up to the seventh time. It is an issue. I think Nnpc should not be taken seriously in this regard.
Okay.
I think that...
I wanted to ask a question quickly.
Okay.
Why do you think that the Dangote refinery has not been given the opportunity to allow to sell the products to the consumers in Nigeria?
Well, you understand that Nnpc is partly in charge of this situation.
Okay.
At first, it was protested by independent marketers. Allow us to get this product directly from Dangote Refinery, and give it back to the public as it is required. Nnpc stood in the gap and said, no, we get it. We give it to you. And it is a problem. For every economy to work effectively, the market forces must be allowed to play their role.
Thank you very much. Let's hold your thoughts on that. Chief, you wanted to say something. Let's hear you.
I think I wanted to draw attention to a comment that my colleague here talked about in relation to Nnpc.
Okay.
And that's got to do with the Freedom of Information Act. The intendment of that law was not to say that only those who preside over information or who control information in government establishments should give information to the public when requested. The intendment is that anywhere in Nigeria, under any institution, once information is sought, those who are the guardians of information have a responsibility to release that information to the one who wants it. Because information is a tool, not just for socialization, it's a tool for information. It's also a tool for economic decisions. So no one, including Nnpc, because we need to speak truth to power. The Nnpc has become a conduit pipe, an organization that only fuels importation. And because its key operatives, until Dangote let us know that in Malta there was a blending company in which Nnpc people have interest. Not many people will understand why our refineries cannot work. They take our refinery, our crude out, is a cheaper source. They go add some value to you, refine it, and return the same crude back to the country, and will pay more.
At a higher rate.
Now you see that the independent marketers accused Nnpc of land tripping. I think that's economic sabotage in itself. That's why I said in the beginning, honestly, if we were a country like China, some of these Asian tigers, they would have shot all of them in Nnpc, killed all of them, because they are threats to our economy and our growth.
Okay, Mr. Chuba, you said, just like the chief just said, that if the Nnpc have not decided to come to the realization of allowing refineries to function, they should be shut down.
Very truthfully, and it's obviously what it is. We can keep being politically correct, but I think Dangote dragged everybody, like the chief clearly brought our attention, reminded us about. It dragged everybody's mind to start sourcing for information. And it is no gainsaying. Someone now owns Oando. Someone now owns Ajip as a company. Someone now runs the nation the way they are running it. And upon this strength, that is the reason why these obviously failing engineers and accountants and managers of every sort are still being left to keep running Nnpc. You cannot tell us that where we have a comparative advantage as a nation, which is oil, we can allow it continue to die like this if it is not for personal interest of those that are already opportuned to just be in office. Outside of that, what is the excuse? Are we talking about rocket science? Our people, our locals, out of sheer ingenuity, refine these products again and again. For years, the refinery, the Nnpc has not even imported or is refining kerosene, but we still have kerosene within our circulation. Who is making it possible? Then you tell us that with all those structures and equipments on ground already, if you tell me to galvanize the locals to go into that place and function with those things, you tell me we'll not be able to refine the crude. So it is a clear case of what Chief clearly stated. People are partnering with organizations and companies outside the shores of this country and are bringing back this same product in a more costly manner, and they are just sharing money, and they are sharing money at the expense of the Nigerian people, and they have in one way or the other destroyed the structure that the people are equally now toothless. They can't even back, they can't even raise a finger. We are just seated as a people waiting either for the doomsday to come or for God to intervene spiritually, and this is not what or how a country should be run. And we need like what we're talking now. The presidency cannot be an excuse from this, because you cannot keep keeping failed people in office. Remember, sometime in 2022, Nnpc imported fake fuel, what we call fire in local parlance, into this country. Nobody was questioned. Nobody was sacked. Who received the product? Till date, nobody asked the questions to that effect. These are the same people running the Nnpc without anybody asking questions, and they come out to give us strange excuses. Like the chief clearly stated, the Freedom of Information Bill Act is not tantamount or to what's it called, to public officers alone. Nnpc, as it were, till date, we don't even know how Nnpc metamorphosed from Nnpc to NPCL. We don't even know the board members up until now. It is still shaded in secrecy. And we have a country that has transited from one administration to another without all of this being unraveled or even brought to the fore of the people. Now, a senior advocate of Nigeria with that kind of level of repute is asking for clear-cut information. How can you be telling us somebody is building a structure, a modern-day engineer, and is telling you that does not know the date he's going to complete the structure, and you are still keeping it there to do a job? It should be fired quickly. But hell no, who will fire who when everybody is empiling and sharing money on the same table? This is the level of corruption and where Nigeria has come is at the moment as a country today, and it is pitiable and painful to the Nigerian people. Okay, quickly, I have a question to throw out here. Talking about importation and exportation, this crude, we have situations with cocoa. We have states in Nigeria that are known for the food baskets of the nation, and then we export these things. We export cocoa and import coffee, and then we export crude and get them back in at, like the chief said, we do this at cheaper rates, and then we get them back at more expensive rates. How do you think this would affect the economic value of the country? How do you think this? Do you think there's a motive? Do you think that we don't feel like we have the capacity to produce these things ourselves? Why do we have to export them to be manufactured before we can use them? I have this question to throw out here.
Okay, let me start by saying this. The capacity to produce these things ourselves, yes, we do. Yesterday, the Nigerian economy depended on agriculture, and we were doing greatly until oil was discovered, I think in about 1958 or 1956 rather. Yes. And we were doing very great. How much was $1 to 1 naira? Naira was very great in time past, but today, naira is how much to $1? Compare Nigeria to Singapore, small Singapore of yesterday. Singapore is doing great, but Nigeria is a greater country if it has used its resources well. See, the simple truth is that the problem of Nigeria is leadership. The problem of Nigeria is greed. The problem of Nigeria is hatred for ourselves. And looking inwards again, I think some time ago we talked about not just greed, but this tribalism. Now tell me, only recently something happened and the IPEP coordinator coordinator was removed. If not for the fact that Ogoni people came up to say no, Mossop came up to say no, this will not happen again, and immediately it was restored. What stops the presidency from sacking everybody in Nnpc? What stops the presidency from changing the government in Nnpc to ensure that we have something better? I said it here last time that if you want to get a better result, you must do something better. If you want to get a new result, you must do something new. You can't keep going around the same table, the same way, the same circle, and you get a different result. No, it cannot be. We must rise up to our responsibility. We must ensure that we must keep it in mind that we should be held accountable for whatever we do. It is a social contract that the Nigerian people has given power to the people in government, even if it is in principle. Because sometimes, practically speaking, we cannot see that. But when these people have been given power, or when they have taken hold of power, howsoever, what next? They see themselves as lords. They see themselves as people that are in charge. Nobody questions them. If not for this practice of cabals, tell me why on earth that something will be going wrong and it is so glaring, so obvious, people are seeing it, everybody is seeing it, and you tell me that these people cannot be removed for us to get a better government?
Silver Bill, I want to get your attention on something. Are you trying to say that the hierarchy, the leadership, is affecting our manufacturing production process in the country?
Yes, it is. It is. If not, tell me why we have 3 refineries in Nigeria. We are the giant, if I'm not mistaken, at least in Africa, of people that produce oil. We have it enough, petroleum. And then we take it out of Nigeria, pay the cost of taking it out, take it to other countries of the world or another country of the world. Okay. We have it refined and we bring it back to our people to buy at a higher rate when it is still something we can do. Okay. What happens to the area of agriculture that we are now talking about revamping? It is a problem.
Okay.
Because I think there is an issue you raised when you said something about cocoa too, and then it turns like coffee. What you are seeing is a lack of confidence in our own products. I recall that when you had the Yemi, who was vice president, there was an attempt to go into Aba, create something around the shoe industry out there in order to promote made in Nigerian goods. Many years ago, under Babangida's administration, the economic diplomacy they engaged in at that time was to open up the West African region to Nigerian goods. It's also one of the reasons why you have organizations like ECOWAS, so that we can have spheres of influence, not just political, but economic. Now, but back home, one would think, how do you want to encourage production when you have a double-digit borrowing rate instead of single-digit borrowing, which is essential, and a long-time repayment pattern, which is also essential to doing business? Now, these banks that we have, to what extent have they committed themselves, to the issue of engineering production in Nigeria? Now, policy. What's the policy stance of the federal government? You can see, using Nnpc as an example, that those lads in Nnpc prefer importation than production because they have their interest protected. The 10%ers in Nigeria are the ones making hay. You can see how many times have we had a collapse of the grid. You will agree that there's a trajectory that this administration are trying to travel. I'm not coming here to defend Tinubu, for example. You can see the power supply has increased marginally. At least I can say that for the rivers where I operate. I know that power supply has increased, but what do you see? The sabotage that is always making sure that you can't even supply power. You know, so those people and their cahoots who sit around the table and decide the future of Nigeria won't let us march forward. Okay? Because you would expect that if they removed subsidy from fuel and they brought that subsidy into manufacturing, they brought that subsidy into agriculture. We'll be getting somewhere.
So, does this mean, quickly, for a minute, like you said, does this mean that these people do not have the country's progress at heart?
Look, as soon as you come, you're arrested. That's the honest truth. And if you go outside of that framework that they want you to work with, they'll frustrate you.
Okay.
It will chase you out of power. So sometimes that's why Buhari said, when you chase corruption, corruption turns around and starts chasing you. You know, people will laugh over that comment, but it's something.
It's a truth. When
Jonathan was in power, and he spoke about Boko Haram, he said there was a political Boko Haram, and they're in his administration. So the point I'm making is that leaders in this country know that there are people who benefit from the kind of structure that we have.
Thank you very much, Chief, on that. Well, we have